Before I go to bed, I'm gonna give you some information. All right. Now, I cannot remember the name of this content creator, but she hates men, and it's weird because she's married. But a lot of her content is, you know, talking about decentering men. Um, it's a white woman. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just to give you some context of where this came from. Excuse me. A couple weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, she had said that the love languages have finally been debunked. And not too long ago, I also got a article in my Google that said the same thing. Um, Here's what I have to say about it, because of course it is conflicting information as to what I provided, um, but not necessarily. Um, it is not saying that the five languages don't exist. These articles are simply stating that there is more than the five love languages, and they are also mentioning that originally the theory was not backed, and that's true. It came from like a Christian therapist, okay? But the thing about this is the reason this woman wanted to debunk it is because that it was a Christian man. And sometimes um, these theories that come from white Christian men, it's funny because these are her words, often come from a place of women becoming subservient to their men, and more to serve the men than it is to serve the women. Well, I mean, at any point in time, you can take any of this information and apply it to either gender. That's the first thing. The second thing, excuse me, the second thing is that because she has such a hatred for men, um, she is willing and ready to um, ignore that the facts are that there are love languages. There's more than five. And, I started to think that because there's certain things that I like that aren't really necessarily part of the five love languages. But here's the thing about how he came up with that. Anybody can do research. You do not have to be a scientist to do research. I have done research, okay? He was counseling couples, and he just happened to notice a trend of people liking certain things within their marriage, and that would also make sense why he would notice affirmations or um, gift giving, okay? Because in religious households and religious backgrounds, there is a higher rate of covert emotional incest. And I continue to tell you that affirmations and um, gifts are superficial and hold no weight and come from that type of background, right? So even myself, I've debunked it to some extent, but science still proves that there are, excuse me, there are multiple kinds of love languages, and sometimes a theory starts with something small, and once it takes hold, you're able to recognize different facets of that research or that theory or that philosophy, right? So I wanted to bring that up because as she is going and in her anti-man and anti-serving men, it actually does a disservice to women to say that love languages are just completely false, because that's not true. It's just that it's not limited to the five. In my personal opinion, affirmations and gifts, really, I mean, you can show love that way, but they don't hold weight, and they should never be like the reason why you don't want to date someone fully. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you be like, girl, he ain't, he does like all these other things, but he can't afford to get you a gift. That is not a well, that's my love language. That's not a reason to, in my opinion, a reason to not be with someone. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to keep that in mind. And one of the ones that I've recently seen someone say, because people be on the internet like, sharing memes with my best friend is my love language, or you know, the one that I really felt like it resonated with me was inclusion. Like being invited somewhere, and I've mentioned several times on this channel how much it hurt me to not be invited to things. You know what I'm saying? That stuff used to bother me. It still does, obviously, but though that could be considered a love language. So it's not. I would say that it's not been debunked. I think it's been expanded upon, and it's been researched. Also, another thing is that it's not limited to one or two, right? In terms of what's your favorite. People think that it's all inclusive in terms of if let's just keep it to the basic five, right? You would want a myriad of those things to be presented to you. So you would want affirmations, you would want gifts, you would want quality time, you would want acts of service, and whatever the last one is, oh, physical touch. You would want all of those to make a whole, like your love as a whole, right? But let's speak on it in terms of damaged individuals. Okay, in terms of damaged individuals who are learning to love, it is very good to identify each kind and take your time working on each one, right? And the fact that love is not supposed to be temporary, and you are constantly growing. Yes, I would love all of them. I would love all of them. I would love inclusion. I would love sharing memes. I would like quality time. I would love all that, right? But if someone has been deprived of love, like, some of the people that I've dealt with and myself, and may not have an understanding of what love looks like, um, I could not expect them to give me all five right away. You know, you would want to build upon each one individually, and that would take time, but that's how you would grow in love. You know what I'm saying? We got physical touch down pat. We got that down. All right? You're doing great. Can we move on to the next one? Okay, more quality time. And honestly, physical touch should not be the first one that you physical touch should not be the first one that you get down pat. Period. In fact, you would probably want to start with quality time, because that's how you really get to know the person and know if you even want to be physical with them, correct? So you would move through those individually. There's very few people that could like bounce back and forth between all the different kinds of things that you find to be important to you and make you feel loved. Um, you do, but another thing that I also noticed, because this has come up quite a bit. I've noticed there was a woman who said that she complained. It wasn't that she complained, but she just didn't feel loved because she wanted to receive love a certain way. And eventually she realized that her husband was showing her love by constantly making her things. He was a great carpenter, and he was like making her all types of things. And she felt happier once she realized that she had to accept the way that he wanted to show love. But in that, it's still settling because you are not challenging him to find other ways to show love. So that is where the love languages can become dangerous, because we are we're not challenging ourselves to go outside of our comfort zone to show someone, like, if I say, um let me find an example. Okay, if I say that quality time is my love language, and you're like, well, I do acts of service for you all the time. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, you know what? You're right. I should meet you where you're at. You've been doing acts of service just great. I appreciate that. It never gives us a chance to enter a different dynamic within our love. You know, I know this sounds funny because, I haven't been in a functional relationship just yet. But I've mentioned before, I'm very adept at these things. I do these things for my children. I do these things for the people around me. So I don't have to have like a successful love relationship to understand how it works. And if you came to me and you told me you had a certain way that you wanted to be shown love, I wouldn't have an issue with doing that because I know how to do it. But there's some people that don't, or they don't feel comfortable in it. But understand, sometimes, especially in the realm of love, if you do not feel comfortable, but it is not something that is unhealthy, it is simply a growing pain. And eventually, as you get used to it, you will like it. Now, I'm not sitting here and saying, okay, well, I like a particular sex act, and my partner won't do it. That's not the same. That's not the same. But if you feel overwhelmed by spending quality time because you think that you're about to lose your freedom, and you refuse to do that, and that's what that person is looking for, um, you know, yeah, we can say, well, just find somebody who doesn't like that, or you could try to expand your ways of expressing love. I mean, which one sounds healthier? Leaving someone because you don't want to be uncomfortable with something that's not necessarily unhealthy, to go find someone that doesn't want that. The facts are, everybody wants that. The only people that don't want that are people who don't want love. So if you don't want that, then you don't need to be doing any of this anyway, correct? I mean, that's just a, I'm just telling you what it's not. But you know what else? You know where this, okay, so that's all I have to say on it. It's still scientific, it's not debunked. um you want to say it's debunked because you don't want to serve men, okay, and I understand that, y'all. But you do a disservice to yourself to try to debunk it, because then what happens, and what is there to learn about love and how to love you and how to serve you as the queen of the household, the empress, the wife. You know what I'm saying? Tonight's title was inspired by Drake's caption, because I love Aubrey. Um, he said something about movies. I didn't memorize it yet. I do that too. I didn't memorize it. I could tell you what kind of movie I ain't living, and that's definitely not a rom com. Good evening.